USA, USA, USA. Let's go, baby. Welcome into the Boston Sports Summit, a golden goal for USA. I'm your host, Tim Burner. We are presented by the Grid Network. And I'm telling you, the United States just took the gold and ripped it out of that sappy maple leaf tree that they got up in Canada. Hey, just for fun fact, we've got better maple syrup in Vermont and New Hampshire than what they got up there in the Great White North. So I'm telling you, what a freaking game. The men's Olympic hockey team has won gold for the first time in 46 years. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable watching that game. The emotions going up, down, all around. Hey, we swept the Canadians because it wasn't just the men. The women started it off on Thursday, beating the Canadians in overtime. And then the men followed it up with their own overtime victory over Canada. Get out those brooms, baby, because the gold is ours. The game is ours. I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. But, I mean, you couldn't have scripted this any better. That it was 46 years to the day. To the day the miracle on ice happened. And we just won gold. I mean, not to mention, too, February 22nd, it was George Washington's birthday. I don't know. The underdog maybe got a little something to say about that. But to be honest with you, that was one of the greatest sporting events I think I've ever watched. And as a Boston guy, a Boston fan, seen a lot of phenomenal sporting moments, let me tell you. But that has to be up there. You know, we finally get to have our own Olympic gold medal moment. Not saying that 1980 wasn't great, wasn't phenomenal, that it just meant that much more. Because of everything that was going on in the States, in the world at that time. But, this was just chef's kiss, bliss, love it, every single second of it. And the first thing I want to do is I want to start off by talking about this game. This game was just, holy cow, topsy-turvy. I felt like I was in one of those turn a wheel moments or turn a wheel things where you're just holding on for dear life, man. Just like, the wind is going right by you, making sure, trying not to puke, squeezing those butt cheeks real tight. Like, I mean, that first period, let's start off there. That first period was fast. It was back and forth. Watching it back, I think you could kind of see a little bit of Canada getting that momentum, but they didn't have it long enough. The USA was on top of them defensively, just like they were on top of us defensively. Both teams would get a shot off, and then the puck would start going in the other direction. That puck spent more time in the neutral zone in that first period than it did on either side. If you want to argue maybe slightly more towards Canada, but either way, it was fast. And basically both teams just came out of the gates hot. Like they were trying to give it everything they had in the first 20 minutes. And, you know, you don't want to blow it up too early if you catch my drift. So they that's what it was. It was awesome. And it was fun. But then 6 minutes into the first period, 14 minutes remaining, Matt Boldy makes an unbelievable play. Massachusetts native Matt Boldy makes an unbelievable individual effort to not only split Canada's defensemen, but to split their top two defensemen. And is able to get right by. He's got a one-on-one with Binnington. And he goes forehand, backhand, and technically, he didn't even make a shot. All he did was when he went backhand, Binnington is going from his own right to left as Boldy's approaching. So Binnington's moving away from Boldy's backhand. And all Boldy did was just guide the puck past his right skate and it bounced off the post into the net. USA opens up the scoring. 1-0 in the first 6 minutes of the game. It was electric factory. Just how much that goal meant. And before I continue on why I think that was important that USA scored first, I do want to give a shout out to not only Matt Boldy, who that individual effort, he is skating into the neutral zone, just about to cross over the blue line, when he decides to lift the puck up in the air and double taps it past Cale Makar and Devon Toews, the two top defensemen for Canada. He gets it up in the air, goes right by him. Neither one of them could figure out what was going on. But Toews was closer because what happened was the puck started to go more towards the middle of the ice. And Toews is about to get his stick down to corral the puck to gain possession when Boldy is quick on his feet and just thinks, real fast. And all he does is just taps Toews' stick up in the air, gets him off balance, regains possession, and then the play cycles through. But then you rewind it even further, and you see that Austin Matthews got this whole thing started. Because on the far left boards, Austin Matthews and Nathan McKinnon, who he's going to get a lot of mentions today, are going at the puck at the same time. Austin Matthews keeps his stick on the ground and is skating up the boards while Nathan McKinnon is making a beeline towards Matthews and the puck. But what he does is, as McKinnon is trying to get the puck, he turns his body so his back is facing Matthews, but he still has his stick up in the air. And all Matthews had to do was keep his stick down. He gets bodied by McKinnon, but because the stick was down, he had possession and just flung it right across the ice, hits Boldy's stick perfectly, and then the whole rest of the thing happens. It all got started because Austin Matthews technically beat Nathan McKinnon to the puck, and McKinnon was just weak on the body, weak on the stick. So tip of the cap to Matthews for getting that whole play started. Without that, USA's not up 1-0 with 14 minutes remaining in the first. I can tell you that much. So I truly believe that us scoring that first goal was the most underrated factor in this game. Because with how the next two periods played out, I don't know if the United States would have been capable to come back from a 1-0 game. Not to say that they couldn't, not to say it wasn't impossible, because you saw what happened earlier in the tournament when we were playing Denmark and we were down 3-2. We came back and we won. This team has the capability of coming back, but we were also more built for a defensive purpose. We were more built from the back end up. Our offensive talent, while very, very, very good, was not on the level of what Canada's has. So, and trust me, that game felt like it was, even leading 1-0, it felt like it was a tie ball game. So being down 1-0, in my eyes, it would have felt like we were down 4-0 on Hall of Fame mode. Based on how the next two periods played out. So it was crucial, absolutely crucial, that the United States got on top to start the game. And that's what happened. It was fantastic. So the first period comes and goes. U.S. has the lead, And then the second period hits, and this is where stuff got crazy because it was pure domination from the Canadians. They had everything. They threw everything at the United States in the second period. And that's, I think, domination, honestly, is the perfect way to describe that period. Being dominated by by Canada, and the Canada just dominated, whatever. Probably the biggest moment of the game, which I thought gave the United States hope, not only initially, but also for the rest of the game, was when you had Jake Gensel called for a hooking with 10.5 minutes remaining. And then Charlie McAvoy, 28 seconds or 27 seconds after Jake Gensel's holding call, you got Charlie McAvoy called for hooking. And yes, it was. You can't stick your stick in between the guy's legs like that. So the United States is not only down one man, now they are down two to arguably the greatest offensive team ever assembled with Montreal, with the Canadians. 5-on-3 with 1 minute and 33 seconds remaining on the clock. 1.5 minutes of being down 2 men to the greatest offensive team the world, I think, has ever seen. And the Canadians couldn't score. They couldn't score. They tried and they tried and they tried, but it didn't work. The United States and Connor Hellebuyck came out on top. And it all started with that opening draw, being down 5-on-3, and Dylan Larkin winning that draw, shooting the puck down the length of the ice, forcing Canada to get back into the neutral zone and then reestablish themselves. That took enough time off. And then, too, that quick whistle. As much as I hate quick whistles, I'll tell you, tip of the cap to the ref there for the quick whistle with 8 seconds remaining on the 5-on-3, because all of a sudden Hellebuyck covers up the puck, and the puck all of a sudden squirted out. But when he covered up the puck, that's when the ref blew the whistle, and then the puck squirted free. So, man, that was crazy. Then it was back 5-on-4, and Mitch Marner, dude, you moron, for the Canadians, you iced the puck with 5 seconds remaining. So we were scot-free. We killed off a 5-on-3 to arguably the greatest offensive team. I can't stress that enough. But that was massive, absolutely massive. And Connor Hellebuyck, I know I probably should have started off with this, but he was absolutely the MVP. And I will talk about the stats after I go through the game, but he was unfreaking believable. When you want to talk about a hot goaltender, 2 examples I'll give you. The Boston Bruins in 2011. Look at how Tim Thomas played all the way leading up to the Stanley Cup. And this game, Connor Hellebuyck stopping 41 of 42 shots. Definition of riding a hot goaltender. So then back to the second period. Cale Makar with just under 2 minutes remaining, tying it up. They talked about it on the broadcast where you had, I'm pretty sure it was Brandon Hagel as the right winger, falling back, going across towards the boards. Because if you think about it, the face-off was in, for Canada, the left offensive dot. Mitch Marner's playing right wing, so he's right now the closest to the goaltender. He falls back at a left angle, and he goes up against the boards, kind of make a way for Cale Makar to go over to the right dot and have no one around him, and he just fires a wrister right over the right blocker, right blocking pad of Hellebuck, leg pad, of Hellebuck, and it was a heck of a goal, heck of a shot, but it was one of those goals where it just felt like it was inevitable. With the way that whole second period was playing out, yes, Canada primarily spent the entire second period in our own zone. Yes, they had a 5-on-3. They couldn't capitalize, but they had the 5-on-3. It just felt like it was inevitable, and then there it was. It was like, all right, it's a tie game. But Brock Faber was right there for the States, but he had a double doink right after. It was like, no, that would have been electric to go up, to be tied up, and then 30 seconds later, take a 2-1 lead going into the third period would have been awesome. But of course, it didn't happen. And so going into the third period, it's all tied up at 1 apiece. Now the third period begins, and this is where it was scramble city. You thought your cheeks were clenched during that 5-on-3. The cheeks were clenched multiple times because I forgot to mention in the second period, Connor McDavid had a breakaway that he just brain scramble mode, couldn't figure out what to do. He was deacon, and then he got too close and the puck went off. That was in the second period. Third period kicks off, and you have Devon Toews with a minute and a half into this third period, has a wide open net standing in front of the crease, and all he has to do is just push it in, tap it in, slide it in, and what does he do? He lifts the puck. Hellebuck swings his stick around, just throwing it out there for absolutely no reason outside of just, please, God, please redirect this puck. Please stop this puck. And sure enough, the good Lord answered. And the puck lifts off the ground, hits the stick, redirects a hard right, and goes right past the post. Watching on X, how many fans, that exact play, how many fans cheered. Even seeing the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto filled with Canadian fans. They have it on the Jumbotron. And even the sound guy set off the horn because they thought they scored. But then obviously they didn't. And the puck redirects, misses the net entirely. It was, just pure joy. But that has to be the save of the moment. And when you look at the missed chances, I mean, look at this. The moment I'm talking about, as you see, is in the bottom right. And then in the middle is the 5-on-3. To the left of the 5-on-3, you have Connor McDavid's breakaway and Macklin Celebrini's breakaway, which I'm going to talk about. And also McKinnon's wide open net in the top left, which I also talk about. But right now I'm at the bottom right hand of this picture. So the important aspect of that Devon Toews missed opportunity was the fact that it was set up because the United States iced the puck twice leading up to that. So they couldn't get their guys off. Our guys were extremely tired and were on an extremely long shift because we iced the puck twice. So it led to that moment. It led all the way to playing on defense so much that you left Devon Toews wide open right in front of the freaking crease. But Hellebuck got his prayers answered, man. And then following up that, as I showed you there, Macklin Celebrini, from the left dot, just shut down by Hellebuyck, with roughly 15:40 remaining in the third. And arguably the biggest save of the game, which wasn't even a save. You could say Johnny Gaudreau saved team, USA on this one. But Nathan McKinnon, as I'm going to show again, look at the top left. Nathan McKinnon firing that puck where Hellebuyck had barely turned his head. He barely turned his head by the time McKinnon fires that puck off his stick. And Johnny, and somebody posted this and felt like someone tweeted this out, that it was like an Angels in the outfield moment. And so somebody then superimposed a faded Johnny Gaudreau kind of forcing that puck over, which was absolutely beautiful. And I would like to believe that happened. Like, it's such a beautiful story. But even still, like, that was, love it. Pure cinema. And Nathan McKinnon misses a wide open net. This man who has won a Stanley Cup, he's one of the top 3 players in the world right now. He hits that shot every single time. Every single time he hits that shot when given that opportunity. Except that one. Except that one. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is that. Not the what ifs. Not that he hits it 100 times out of 100. That one time. That's when it mattered. And so then about 2.5 minutes later, or about 2 minutes later, the United States nearly had too many men on the ice. I'm going to say nearly. That was an entire cluster. I don't know what was going on. I've seen from one angle, or how about this? From the side angle, the TV angle, it looked like it looked like Austin Matthews was passing the puck at an angle that was going towards Brock Nelson, who was not getting off the ice, or was going right at the ref's skates. And so, because of that, my thought is, well, maybe they didn't call it because Nelson touched it and it just propelled forward right into Jack Hughes' skates, or it hit the ref and maybe it wasn't called because of ref interference. Maybe. But then when they showed the replay of it, which they really didn't do a great job at showing the full replay of this, that would have been something I would have preferred. But when they showed from behind the net, the dead-on view, it then looked like the direction of the puck was going towards Jack Hughes and right towards his skates. So, I mean, maybe I'm just going to sit here and say, listen, I'm as an American, as a United States citizen, as a USA fan, I'm just glad they didn't call it. Like, I gotta be honest with you, I'm just glad they didn't call it. They swallowed the whistle on that one. They really did their job, in my opinion. Were there some missed calls and non-calls? Yeah, you could argue. But at the end of the day, the less the penalties in a championship game, the better. Unless it's wildly unless it's wildly egregious. That's the only time I want the referees involved in a championship game, is if the penalty is egregious. Not so much so where people need to be taken out, but egregious to the point where it's Charlie, you can't stick your stick. You can't stick your stick in between a guy's skates, pull up, and expect not to be called on that. That type of thing. So, or Jack Hughes getting his teeth, knocked out. That's an egregious penalty. That absolutely should have been called. Stuff like that. So, ultimately, glad it wasn't called. But then you have about 10 seconds later, you have McAvoy playing goalie, who he had a great tournament. Him and Quinn Hughes were a phenomenal pairing. And Quinn Hughes got traded from Vancouver to Minnesota, almost like, I don't know, maybe Bruins should have traded for him. We could have used him. Still could. But McAvoy just getting behind Hellebuck, catching it, and then throwing it right on Hellebuck's back, basically. Absolutely just heads up thinking. It brought me back to Michael Ryder making the save against I think it was against Montreal. Michael Ryder making the save against Montreal because Tim Thomas was nowhere to be found. Like, it was unbelievable. Then to follow up, obviously, Mitch Marner getting the double minor because he knocked part of he knocked part of Jack Hughes' teeth out. So was massive, but the U.S. could not do anything. They tried and they tried and they tried. And it was the most offensive possession I've seen from Team USA in 2 periods. That was the single longest offensive zone possession from the United States I've seen in 2 periods. And they couldn't do much with it. And of course, Jack Hughes then gets the high sticking, creating 49 seconds of 4-on-4 with 3.5 minutes to go. But luckily, the United States was able to escape the third period and get it into overtime. And this is where all hell broke loose. Because right before overtime, I think it was about 4 to 5 minutes remaining in the third period, Eddie Olczyk, as the color guy, mentioned how the United States should solely focus now on not scoring a goal, but getting this game into overtime. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. I'm not saying those were his words exactly. I'm paraphrasing. Basically, he said that the United States should get this game to overtime. You happy? No. But that's what he said. And I remember hearing that, thinking, absolutely not. We can't focus on getting to overtime. We got to win it now. We got to win it 5-on-5. We get it to overtime. That's their game. They're the skill guys. We can't focus on that. We got to win it now. But we get it to overtime. And I'm going to break down kind of what happened in overtime because wild sequence of events to the point where the Canadians had a 5-on-3 longer than we played 3-on-3. Think about that. But Canada won the puck drop. And this was their game plan. It was to get McDavid his moment because Sidney Crosby got his moment in 2010 in overtime, scoring the golden goal, which was still talked about. And McDavid is still billed as arguably one of the greatest hockey players of all time. Except there's one problem with that. His only major victory is in the Four Nations, which they just made up last year. That was it. He scored the game-winning goal from the slot. And otherwise, he's lost back-to-back consecutive Stanley Cup finals and now is playing for the gold, which is I would argue, more important to Canadians than the Stanley Cup. Not by much, but I would love to see a poll in Canada. What means more, the gold or the Stanley Cup? And hey, if you're Canadian, comment down below. Would love to hear what your thoughts on this are. Otherwise, the puck drops. Canada wins the initial possession in overtime. And they pass it back. Finally, McDavid gets it and gets the whole neutral zone to build up all this speed, and he goes just off center to Hellebuck's right, but then all of a sudden absolutely whiffs on the puck. Stick goes right over the puck. United States gets it, goes back down the other end of the ice, and Quinn Hughes is about 2 inches away from not only beating Sweden in overtime, but then beating Canada in overtime. So it was almost over in 25 seconds. Overtime was almost over in 25 seconds. But Big Balls Binnington himself, just keeps coming up clutch. And he got just enough of that puck with his glove that it redirected and went right outside the crease. And so McKinnon goes back down and just fires it in Hellebuck's chest. All right, so now Canada's got an offensive zone faceoff. They send Bo Horvat out there to win the faceoff. He does. He immediately skates off, goes straight to the bench. And then with 18 minutes and 40 seconds remaining, McDavid does the same exact thing. And this time, instead of going to Hellebuck's right, he's now going much further on Hellebuck's left. And he tries to go all the way around. He stops right at the goal line on Hellebuck's right, tries to make a quick move, gets around Quinn Hughes, or Jack Hughes, as he did it. But the puck doesn't stick with him. It goes straight to the back end of the boards, where Jack Hughes then wraps around, gains possession of the puck, throws it over to Werenski off the near boards. He goes up. Jack Hughes is coming out. Now he's in his defensive zone slot. And Werenski, I don't know what he was thinking, but he might not have had full possession, but he just pushed the puck towards Hughes, which left Makar the ability to skate in, and Hughes, recognizing the moment, has to adjust, goes at, and then just flings his stick. Not releases the stick, but just flings his stick out there, smacks the puck away from Cale Makar. And I'll tell you, that was arguably the biggest moment in overtime. Maybe the second biggest moment of the game, or third, depending on how you want to look at it. Because had Hughes not won that puck battle right there, it would have been McDavid and Makar 2-on-0 versus Hellebuck. And with all the puck luck that USA was getting from Hellebuck stopping Tays, McKinnon missing a wide open net, Hellebuck going 2-0 on McDavid and Celebrini's breakaways, and at that point stopping 41 of 42 shots. I'm sorry, with the 2-0 with those two, I don't know that the United States has another opportunity. So Jack Hughes wins that puck battle. The puck bounces off the boards, goes down the other end of the ice. Werenski catches up to it, but not before McKinnon gets there. So what does Werenski do? He bodies McKinnon, just knocks him on almost on his ass, boxes him out, then turns around, boxes him out, is patient with the puck, sees Hughes skating down the far end, throws it across the ice. Hughes, seeing Binnington make his way over, shoots it, goes right under Binnington's left pad, Game over. United States score and our Olympic gold medals for the first time in 46 years. Woo! If you want to know the description of the game, that's it in a nutshell. Otherwise, to move on to that, to get to the crazy stats, right? That's a big thing. You get the crazy stat moments. And as I've said twice now, Hellebuck stopped 41 of 42 shots. He stood on his head. He was a brick freaking wall. Nothing, almost nothing, could get by him. To the point where, again, you've heard me say slot, low slot, and you know what I'm talking about. But just for that case, if you didn't, 27 of those 42 shots came from the slot. 17 of them came from the low slot. That's the low slot right there. 17 shots came from that low slot. And then if you just go straight out, not inside the circles, but just straight out is called the slot. 17 shots, and he stopped them all. He stopped them all from the low slot. It was unbelievable. Hellebuck was lights out, and you could tell there was something different about him in that first period with how much ease he had on the puck, with the puck. It was so easy for him. And yeah, you know what? The Makar goal, tip of the cap, great shot. And not for nothing, I think Hellebuck overplayed his position just enough. That gave Makar that opportunity. Had he been a little bit more square with Makar, then I don't think that opportunity exists. Otherwise, there's a little bit more to his left. But hey, we won. So I'm not going to nitpick that much. And then you want to look at it too. So I sit here and I'm thinking to myself, here are these guys. This is their game. As I mentioned, Canada wanted McDavid to get the golden goal. Like, this was his moment, his game, his time to shine. And yes, he lost in back-to-back cup finals, but he's about to get that goal and cement himself as one of the greatest hockey players ever. But when you look at how much time him, McKinnon, and Makar spent on the ice during the playoff during the playoff round. So, single elimination, you're done. It's over. The time on ice between those three was staggering. Staggering. Connor McDavid in the quarterfinal versus Czech Republic spent 21 minutes and 48 seconds on the ice. Fifth highest time on ice amongst his team. And then in the semifinals versus Sweden, he spent 25 minutes and 20 seconds on the ice, which was second. And then in the final, he was on the ice for 24 minutes and 1 second. Second time on ice versus the United States. That averaged out to 23 minutes and 43 seconds time on ice. Then you look at McKinnon. He spent 22:43 on the ice in the quarterfinal. He spent 21 minutes and 51 seconds in the semis. And then in the final, McKinnon spent 21 minutes and 21 seconds. As you can see, second most time on ice in the quarter, fifth most in the semi, fifth most in the final. And then Cale Makar basically took home the most time on ice, spending 26 minutes and 41 seconds in the quarterfinal, spending 25 minutes and 14 seconds in the semifinal, and then 24 seconds and 32 seconds in the final. First, third, and first, averaging 25 and a half minutes time on ice. This is the Olympics. This isn't for what they get paid for. What they get paid for is to go out and win Stanley Cups, which is what McKinnon and Makar did back in 2022. But this is, I don't want to say a friendly, because obviously it matters. It means something. But this isn't what they get paid for. So for them to spend 23.43, McKinnon 21.58, and McCarr 25 and a half minutes on the ice is a lot of freaking time and extremely top heavy. Extremely top heavy. And I'm not calling the Canadian roster top heavy. I'm calling how they manage their roster top heavy. Because when you look at the rest of the roster, of those 3 games, nearly half, 9 out of 20 players, 45%, played a fifth of the game or less, which is 12 minutes and under. Not a well-rounded game by John Cooper, who many consider one of the best coaches in hockey. So you would think that the best coach in the NHL right now would not be so dependent on his top line. When you have a roster that is so deep, like the Canadian roster, why are you only focusing on the top guys? That's what kills me. I mean, when you look at these 9 players who averaged under 12 minutes or under in the three playoff games, you want to call it, the quarterfinal, semi, and final, they all averaged about 9.5 minutes of ice time, while the top half is through the roof, especially when it came to McDavid, McKinnon, McCaw. And it's just, and when you look at Team USA in the final game, only 5 of the top 20, only 5 of the 20 players on Team USA played a fifth of the game or less. So 12 minutes or under. Now, it's funny because this, where we're at as a hockey nation. Now, we've always been one of the top hockey nations, but we've never been the one. It's always been Canada. It's always been Russia. And we've always been kind of there. We've won our fair share, obviously, 1960, 1980, and now. But, you know, some years we don't make the final. Some years we win silver. Some years we win bronze, so on and so forth. When you look at the IIHF Junior, the junior games, which is massive over in Canada for the Canadians. It's like our college, you know, our college sports, football, basketball. That's what the World Juniors are for them. And since 2010, the United States has won this tournament 6 times. 6. And during that span of us winning, we're 3-0 in the gold medal game versus Canada during that span. You know, I hate to say it. Not really. I don't hate to say it. I actually love to say it. But this is our game now. This is our sport now. And now for the fun part. Because the aftermath, the meltdown that happened has just been unreal. You would think for a nation that is one of its well-known characteristics is how nice they are. Obviously, I'm speaking hyperbolic, but you know what I'm saying. That, holy cow, were they effing salty? Were they just crybabies after this game? John Cooper, when asked about the 3-on-3, said, quote, "You take 4 players off the ice. Now hockey's not hockey anymore. There's a reason overtime and shootouts are in play. It's all TV driven to end games, so it's not a long time. There's a reason why it's not in the Stanley Cup final or playoffs." So what, John? That 3-on-3 is just a exhibition. It's just a side piece. It's just a mini game that you lost because of a mini game. Because, hey, it's not real hockey. Where was that same energy when Mitch Marner scored the game winner against the Czechs? Where has that same energy been when back in 2010, Sidney Crosby scored the game-winning goal, not 5-on-5, but 4-on-4? Is that not hockey, John? Is that supposed to be considered not hockey? Should there be an asterisk in Vancouver in 2010 because Sidney Crosby scored a 4-on-4 goal rather than a 5-on-5? You crybaby. What a awful choice of words. Now, later on in the press conference, he obviously tries to work himself around it and recant it kind of without saying, I didn't mean it, blah, blah, blah. But it's so dumb. Like, tell us how you really feel, which is exactly that. And then, and the interesting thing is, too, listen, I don't disagree that I would rather see a championship game decided based on full strength, which is one of the reasons why I can't stand the World Cup. I love the World Cup. It's wildly entertaining. But the fact that you decide the most important championship to the world outside of the United States, to the world, on penalty kicks, I think that just sucks. I understand that these games could be playing for hours and hours and hours, just kind of like what hockey is when you watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, when you watch the Stanley Cup finals, and they go into overtime, double, triple overtime. Those games last 4 to 6 hours. And I get it. It's crazy. You got other things to do, like go to sleep. But at this, you knew what was going to happen. It was agreed upon. Everybody knew. So, yeah, the 3-on-3. And, again, you had the puck twice. This isn't a Patrick Mahomes moment where all the Chiefs fans were crying because Tom Brady won the coin toss, marched down the field, and scored a touchdown. This isn't Josh Allen where the Chiefs got the ball, scored a touchdown before Allen could touch it. This isn't that moment. Connor McDavid had the puck twice. And if you want to even include Nathan McKinnon's shot right into Hellebuck's chest, 3 times. Canada had 3 opportunities to score in overtime, and you failed on every one. The United States had 2 times, and we went 1 for 2. Almost 1 for 1. But spare me on this nonsense. And not to mention, with the amount of offensive talent that Canada has, holy crap, this favors you. Like, Cale Makar, the best defenseman in the world, and also one of the top offensive defensemen in the world. Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Macklin Celebrini, Bo Horvat, like Brad Marchand. That roster is loaded. And loaded for this particular style of game. 3-on-3. Give me the whole ice. Let's go. And you couldn't capitalize. You couldn't do it. Hell, if I was drafting this game, it would be McDavid, Makar, McKinnon. 1, 2, 3. If I was drafting the whole tournament, it would still be McDavid, McKinnon, Makar. How many Canadians would get drafted before you touch a United States player, let alone you pick somebody from the whole world if you're drafting this tournament? Like, that's how skilled and talented these guys are. And yet they're whining about that? Not to mention Nathan McKinnon, whoo, baby, the man who missed a wide open net. He went on to whine about who the better team was. Dude, you missed a wide open net. Yeah, you might have won the second and third period, but you didn't score. You had a wide open net. Tays had a wide open net. McDavid, Celebrini had a breakaway, not just like a guy up their ass. No, clear breakaway opportunities. And a 5-on-3. Yet you have the cojones to say, yeah, what you be the judge on who the better team was. It was like, he didn't say it was us, but he implied it. I mean, dude, check the damn scoreboard. I think that says who the better team was. Yes, did you win the second and third period? Were you more aggressive? Were you in the offensive zone for a lot longer? Yeah. But that's why you play the damn game. You don't go to the IOC, throw the pieces of paper with your roster on there, and the IOC president looks it over and says, you've got the better roster. Here's your gold medal. They don't have as good a roster. Here's your silver medal. So on and so forth. That's not what sports is about. That's not what happens in sports. Okay? That guy right there who wore that jersey was the better team in 2007. Yet, he lost. We had the better roster in 2007 because you played the damn game. That's what happens. So, this notion is unbelievable. Like, and he, of all people, had the gall to come out there after the game and say that. Holy crap. The cojones on these guys. And then you want to go to the Canadian fans, the Canadian media. I've seen some posts from Canadian fans that it's like, relax. Cope harder, will ya? And then some from the Canadian media have been downright hilarious. You have Sid Seixeiro said on his show that Canadian hockey fans should not care or, quote, let go of the bleep talk from Americans, because he says, quote, by Wednesday, none of them will care, end quote. No, you see, that's the funny thing. We will remember. We will remember for the longest time. Like, come on. But he then goes to cite on how NHL viewership being down opening night, et cetera, you know, just like all the stuff like, oh, it's not important to them. They're going to forget, you know, because this is why. And so just let it go, Canadians. Don't worry about it. I think that should make you even more mad. Like, so that, like, because if I grant you your premise, which actually, not for nothing, I granted you your premise when I did my first Olympic Hockey Edition episode, talking about how this early morning game, this Sunday morning game, should not be played at Sunday morning. It should be Saturday afternoon. It should be Sunday afternoon. And that the NHL viewership is still fourth amongst the NFL, MLB, and NBA. And I mean, I already said this. So, as a Canadian, the bleep talk that you're going to get from us, that you're getting from us, and will continue to get from us, that should make you even more mad. Because this is our fourth sport. This isn't even number one and number two. As much as I would love it to be, as much as I think the entire country would be better off watching hockey on a regular basis and marveling at what a great game this is compared to the other three leagues, this should piss you off that much more because we beat you at your own sport. This is our fourth, and this is your number one, your national game, and we beat you at it. So we're not going to forget in the span of 3 days. No. We're going to have this moment for a very, very, very long time. And you're never going to hear the end of it. The other thing that I find wildly interesting when it comes to Canadian fans and Canadian media is that they refuse to blame their players for what happened. They refuse to go after John Cooper for having McDavid, McKinnon, Makar out there on average for at least 21 minutes a game. Because you have quotations from senior NHL writer from The Athletic saying, quote, "This loss is not a national crisis in Canada. Canada dominated the final 40 minutes of regulation, outshot the USA 42-28, and if that game were played 100 times, Canada would probably win 95 of them," end quote. Now, courtesy of these next couple of people, I'm not going to name names because, well, I don't need to. I'm not looking to start any wars or anything. I think you know who I'm talking about, or you could simply look it up. I just said it's a senior NHL writer from The Athletic. Whoa. But no, I'm not looking to start any beef. I'm just using this as an example because, yeah, you dominated the final 40 minutes of regulation. Yeah, you outshot us 42-28. But this line, if you played 100 times, you'd win 95 of them. Do you not understand what is going on right now? Because we won 3-1 in Montreal at the Four Nations tournament last year. You almost had the same roster. We almost had the same roster, maybe a couple of exceptions here and there. We won in Montreal. We lost in Boston. And then we won tonight. Yes, I admitted at the start of the show, the Four Nations tournament, I thought we played better at the Four Nations tournament than we did on Sunday. Hands up, no doubt about it. But this idea that we're 95 out of 100 far apart, that you're going to win 95 games out of 100, that these two teams are that far apart, first of all, is absolutely degrading to the United States and what they just accomplished. Secondly, why don't you look at those guys who dominated, quote unquote, dominated the final 40 minutes of regulation and say to them, if you guys dominated so much, how could you not score? I mean, look at that. You had all these chances. You dominated, and you couldn't get one puck past Hellebuck after the game got tied up. It's mind-boggling. Then you have a Canadian voice, sports voice on X, tweeting, quote, "The problem with losing to the USA is having to deal with restart that. Quote, "The problem with losing to the USA is having to deal with Americans' inability to win with class." And if you want to talk about this beautiful picture of a bald eagle stomping the Geese's face into the ice, I think it perfectly sums up what happened on Sunday, don't you? Because you know what? You want to talk about winning with class? Then here's an idea. Why don't you lose with class? Why don't you stop blaming the 3-on-3 format and actually look at what the real problem was? John Cooper failed you as a coach. Connor McDavid was so hell-bent to get his moment, to score that goal, game winner, golden goal. I won an Olympic gold medal. It was me who did it. That he didn't care. He didn't play true hockey. He just went out and skated the puck himself. It was feed McDavid the puck, get him his moment, and let's call it a day. Well, sorry, it didn't happen. I can't believe for a country that is known for being how nice they are, like, they sure as hell don't know how to lose with class, and yet want to get mad at us for our bleep talking and crap talking and all of that stuff because we beat you. That's what happens when you win, is you earn the right to talk crap. Okay? And listen, I understand I'm speaking hyperbolically. I understand that there are plenty of Canadians out there who are good people, that are truly nice, that fit the definition of, or hell, fit the stereotype that Canadians are super friendly people. I get that. I'm not calling them out. I'm calling out all the Canadian fans on X. Like, again, I'm not trying to start an international war, cross borders, that whole thing. I'm just talking, like, hey, reading these things, you want to talk about us winning with class? Here's an idea. Lose with class too. Do what the boys did on the ice. Stick out your hands and say good game. Because that's what we've done since 2014, 2010, 2002. When we played you and you beat us when it mattered, we stuck out our hands and said good game. And then said to ourselves, okay, how do we get better? Where do we need to develop? What areas are we lacking on our team? So spare me this nonsense about winning with class. Please. And this is the last piece, which, say what you want about it, but it does need to be said. All the political bitching that is going on because they're so obsessed with the fact that Trump keeps referring to them, or not keeps, but has referred to them as the 51st state, and the annexation that winning gold has over us means that they're better. Like, the fact that they want to say, hey, had we Canadians won the gold, we would throw it in their face and say, we're that much better than you. We're not your 51st state. We're our own country, this, that, and the other. Obviously, it's called learning to take a joke. And we're going to talk about jokes in probably about 5 minutes. But still, it's, this funny thing is, again, we beat you at your own game. So you want to talk about the political stature behind it? It's unbelievable. I had a point here. Here. You know what? Fine. Canada, how about this? I'll make a trade deal with you. We'll give you California, Oregon, and Washington if you give us Alberta. I think that's a fair deal. Sound good? Sound good? Okay, shake hands. Done deal. But the sad part is, of course, this political bitching does not stop at the northern border. It continues on in this country. And it's kind of frustrating, to be honest with you. Oh, yeah. Go back a little bit. Part of the political bitching, and you want to talk about us, winning with class. You're the same group of people, right, that booed our national anthem. I don't care what your reasoning behind it was, because at the end of the day, you booed the American national anthem. If you don't remember, take a listen. So again, win with you. We have an inability to win with class. How about you just stay quiet? There's absolutely zero reason to boo our national anthem. Zero. Say what you want about, Trump and all your nonsense. Oh, Orange man bad. He wants us to be the 51st state, man. Stop it. That was unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. I don't care your reasons. Unacceptable. Now, getting back to what I was saying, how the political bitching, unfortunately, doesn't stop at the northern border. You have so many people after the game who are on a freaking high, myself included, lost our minds. It was phenomenal to see our boys come home with the gold. Then to see it on X and videos alike that Kash Patel was in the locker room after the game celebrating with the boys. And everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people were looking at this going, or just crucifying the men's squad because he was there chugging beers. One of the players put their gold medal around his neck, and they were all butthurt because it was on the taxpayer dime. And say what you want about the director of the FBI being overseas and celebrating with the boys, but lest we forget that Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer was in Italy, in the stands, watching the women win gold last Thursday. Can you guess how she got there? And on whose dime that was on? I have a hint for you. It didn't come out of her own pocket. So, this, ladies and gentlemen, is hypocrisy at its finest. There was no uproar about Gretchen Whitmer being there on the taxpayer dime, taxpayer for her, state constituents. No. It was only directed at Kash Patel because Donald Trump put him into office as the director of the FBI. You want to talk about, this is what bothers me, is when you call out one side, but you don't call out the other. I can't respect people who are hypocritical in that way. Then you want to go to the Trump phone call and talk about a freaking joke. Holy cow. Again, are people so wound up that they just can't take a joke? Oh, wait, that's right. This is 2026. God forbid, people laugh, let alone tell at a joke. Tell a joke. Laugh at a joke. Obviously, it was a joke. I can't believe I'm going to do this, but crazy enough, I'm about to break down a friggin' joke for you. Because, yes, first and foremost, if you listen to the full joke, you listen to the full thing, it's clear this joke was not geared towards the women's team. He wasn't making fun of them for winning gold. He was clearly pointing out that the outrage mob, now you can decide for yourselves what political party that outrage mob belongs to, but that outrage mob would call for his impeachment and probably run on that fact had he not invited the women. And listen, they beat Canada in overtime that Thursday. You think it took Donald Trump 4 days to not reach out to them, and or haven't reached out to them yet to say, hey, congratulations, we'd love to have you, this, that, and the other. Because when you want to look at the history of the women's national hockey team, in 2018, they won gold in Pyeongchang. I remember being up at 3 a.m, watching the shootout go down between, guess who? Them and Canada. And the USA took gold in Pyeongchang in 2018. And in April of 2018, they were invited to the White House along with a ton of other Olympians from 2018. And according to the rep at the time, they were glad to go. Not because of Trump. I'm not saying that they were excited to go because Trump invited them. No, they were excited to go because it meant a massive opportunity that they never got to experience before. It meant they got to go to the White House, be with their fellow teammates who they worked so hard with and for, and won a gold medal with. They've been separated for a couple of months at that time, and now they got to be back together on the White House lawn. Being honored by Trump along with the other Olympians. Unfortunately, yes, the women's Olympic gold medalists did get caught in the crossfire, in terms of that joke being made. It wasn't directed at them. It wasn't to put them down for what they accomplished, because what they accomplished was phenomenal. I was pumped. I was watching that game too. I was hoping that they would beat Canada. They came back down 1-0, tied it up in the third, and then won it in overtime off Megan Keller's goal. Awesome. And all the men, or a bunch of the men's players, were in attendance watching that game too, especially the Hughes brothers, whose mother is part of that team. So it's infuriating that anytime something is said, or that anytime something is done that revolves around Trump or politics or any of this, it has to be this national story. It has to be, all these phobias or isms or whatever. And it's like, can we just stop and just enjoy a moment that should have brought our nation together? But you got a bunch of nut jobs out there who can't even accept the fact that their men just won gold along with the women, and that we swept the damn Canadians. I mean, here's the thing. Ultimately, inviting both teams to the State of the Union should have been a no-brainer. It should not be a political stunt. I don't believe it is. Inviting them to the White House is not a political stunt. Now, others are going to say at the State of the Union tonight that, the men are there because it's, they're pro-MAGA, and this, that, it's a pro-MAGA movement. Donald Trump is exploiting the men's Olympic hockey team, and they don't know what they're doing. And you know what? You clearly are just deranged. If that's immediately what you're going to, you are deranged. If it were Biden, I'd expect the same thing. If it were Obama, I'd expect the same thing. If it were Bush, Clinton, Reagan, whoever, I'd expect them to invite them to the White House to honor them. Now, it could be for the State of the Union. It could be a few months down the road. But they should be honored, period, no matter who is doing it. But people are just so wound up that you can't even talk. You can't even have a civil conversation anymore. It's straight blame game. And if you accept an invitation from our current president, you're the worst person in the world. You know, I wish I could sit here and say that this whole thing could just be to honor the men's Olympic hockey team and, you know, the women's Olympic hockey team for winning gold medal, winning the gold in a sport that has mattered so much. You get so many people who were watching Miracle Saturday night going into this game Sunday morning. But yet here we are, because our political parties, actually, I shouldn't say parties, I should say at least one political party is so divisive that it's wild. It's sad. It's what it is. It's sad. Because here's a beautiful moment. And let's capitalize, because we're about to go on the State of the Union, and let's honor these boys. Let's honor these girls for doing something that you don't rarely get to see. It's win gold at the Olympics in the sport of hockey. And I agree. Unfortunately, the women's team did get caught in the crossfire. Now, they put out a beautiful statement saying that due to, you know, the obligations, school obligations, due to, you know, professional hockey obligations, you know, they are extremely appreciative, but they unfortunately can't make it. Great. I hope I can just take them at their word at that, and that they mean that. You know, that because at the end of the day, that's all you got to say. You don't have to put out a statement that says, we didn't accept this invite because Trump bad and we don't like him. You don't have to do that. Just, you know, say, hey, listen, we got prior obligations. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invite, but we can't make it. And like I said, unfortunately, the women's team did get caught in the crossfire. Could you argue the taste of the joke? You absolutely could argue that. I mean, I'll admit, I laughed, not because I thought what the women did was any less relevant than what the men did, but I knew what he was saying when he finished the joke. Like saying he'd get impeached for it, you know, by not inviting them. It's, I don't know. Sometimes I just sit here and I think it's crazy. But otherwise, what a game. The men got gold. The men are champions. We stomped on those Canadians. We beat them down on the ice at their game. And we are gold medalists, baby. That's right. Number one. And don't let the Canadians forget about it. So tell me what you think. Thank you so much for tuning in. Comment down below. You can see all my social medias underneath, at Boston Sports Summit on Instagram, at Boss Sports Summit on X, and at Boston Sports Summit on YouTube as well. And I do want to give a shout out to the Grid Network for, you know, sponsor the show. Let me do my thing. And don't forget, check them out too. You know, I got a bunch of great, good content creators, and, you know, they get their guys talking about sports too. So let's have some fun with that, shall we? All right. Well, thank you once again so much for tuning in. USA number one. USA, USA, USA. Have a great rest of your night, and God bless. Thank you.